NCIS legend discusses potential cameo in the new Tony and Ziva spin-off. Summary. Ishida's last words to Sato might have the secret combination to a hidden desk, or proofs against Tozawa, or the name of his killer. Regardless of what he said, the words will have a big impact on the plot of the story going forward. The oldest active cast of the NCIS franchise talks about potentially appearing in the Tony DiNozzo and Ziva David spin-off. Right after Michael Weatherly's NCIS return in Ducky's tribute episode, fans were treated to the news of the actor teaming with Cote de Pablo for a new spin-off. The upcoming series will feature the couple hitchhiking across Europe with their daughter Taylai. Although nitty-gritty about Tony and Ziva's spin-off is kept under wraps, rumors about the former teammates making a cameo is at an all-time high. Talking to TV Insider, Sean Murray says that Timothy McGee's involvement in the latest spin-off is possible. Read his comments below. To see Tony, McGee, and Ziva together again would be great. Yeah, it's very possible, I'll say that. Especially inside of our franchise, as I'm sure you could guess. And yeah, we like to have fun with some of that stuff, and it's all in the family, so we'll see what happens.
Tony, Ziva and McGee are integral members of perhaps the most popular NCIS roster in its 20 years of history. The other members that complete the team include Leroy Jethro Gibbs, Mark Harmon, Ducky Mallard, David McCallum, Leon Vance, Rocky Carroll, Jimmy Palmer, Brian Dietzen, and Abby Shudo, Polly Perrette. Therefore, there is always a dopamine rush among seasoned fans whenever rumors of a possible reunion start floating. Fortunately, NCIS has an inclination toward reunions, cameos, and crossovers, and Weatherly's visit to the DC office is the biggest proof of that.
There are a multitude of ways in which the makers could reunite McGee, Tony, and Ziva.
Since NCIS often introduces new shows through special episodes, their comeback could be just what's needed to kick off a new series. Plus, it would get more people interested, especially since Tony and Ziva's spin-off will be on Paramount Plus instead of regular TV.
Alternatively, the new show might just have Murray pop in for a guest spot. With his knack for tech, he'd be a big help to the duo in their new adventures. Any reunion will be golden for the fans, mainly because it has been over a decade since Murray, De Pablo, and Weatherly shared the screen.
That said, it would be even better if NCIS could bring more teammates from the former roster, with Harmon being the fan-favorite choice. Gibbs was like Tony, Ziva, and McGee's father figure and team leader.
Agents from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service combining elements of the military drama and police procedural genres. The concept and characters were initially introduced in 2 episodes of the CBS series JAG.
The series, originally titled Navy NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, was later shortened to NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and then to NCIS.
Tony and Ziva spin-off. 8 things we want to see NCIS new show. The NCIS universe is once again expanding with the unexpected Tony DiNozzo and Ziva David spin-off, and the new show has a lot of story to cover. Summary: Tony and Ziva's NCIS spin-off will focus on their romantic past, current situation, and journey with their daughter Taylai in Europe. The new show needs to show flashbacks of Tony and Ziva's relationship to fully explore their romance, as well as properly establish Tally's origin. The NCIS spin-off should also feature a reunion with Abby and McGee, showcase Ziva's Mossad training, and include Tony reuniting with Gibbs. The unexpected Tony DiNozzo and Ziva David NCIS spin-off hopefully tackles several plot points based on their history in the franchise and current situation.
A decade since Cote de Pablo left NCIS and left Tony's heartbroken, she is once again set to team up with Michael Weatherly to continue their procedural romance. Shortly after Weatherly's NCIS Season 21 return for Ducky Mallard's tribute episode, it was announced that the on-screen couple and real-life friends are reuniting for another expansion series of the mega-hit CBS franchise. This time, Tony and Ziva will spearhead their new show set in Europe.
Specific plot details about the upcoming Tony and Ziva NCIS spin-off are still being kept under wraps.
However, per the initial brief, the new show will see the couple on the run across Europe with their daughter, Taylai, an interesting role switch as pursuers during their time as part of Leroy Jethro Gibbs's team at NCIS. Admittedly, considering how much time has passed, seeing them together on the screen seemed impossible before their show's announcement. While narrative details are still scant, certain things hopefully happen in the new show for the pair's NCIS spin-off to be satisfying.
8. Tony and Ziva's on-screen reunion via flashback. The couple's NCIS reunion happened off-screen. As the original love pairing in NCIS, the police procedural took painstakingly long to get the couple together, and when they did, it happened after both of them had already left the agency. De Pablo's Ziva left NCIS Season 11 with an emotional departure. It left everyone heartbroken, but Donoso was particularly distraught about it. A couple of seasons later, it was Weatherly's time to bid the show goodbye, and Donoso's choice to walk away from the job stemmed from wanting to focus on his secret daughter with Ziva, whom he only met after his former partner was supposedly killed. Eventually, Ziva's death was undone, leading to her reunion with Donoso. Sadly, this happened on screen, which has been very frustrating. The upcoming Tony and Ziva NCIS spin-off needs to make up for this blunder by showing how the pair got together, which is expected to be romantic and poignant. Without this, the new show risks becoming underwhelming. 7. Tony and Ziva returning to NCIS, Washington, D.C. office. NCIS, Washington, D.C. headquarters could be a great pit stop before Tony and Ziva wander in Europe. Gibbs's absence during Ducky's episode proves to be a blessing in disguise as it allows NCIS to bring back Mark Harmon for a much bigger role. On top of that, recruiting Weatherly instead brought Tony back to his old Washington, D.C. office, where he mingled with his old friends and met new members of the team. This sets a precedent for him, but his NCIS spin-off should push it further by also bringing Ziva back to their old headquarters. Perhaps before skipping town across Europe, the couple can find themselves back in their former office, coming up with a plan for their new crisis. 6. Tony and Ziva's full romance arc. NCIS has yet to fully show Tony and Ziva as a proper couple. De Pablo was brought in as a replacement for Sasha Alexander, who was killed in NCIS Season 2. Ziva was a loaned Mossad agent to the American agency, a setup spearheaded by the then-director Jenny Shepard. From the get-go, Tony and Ziva's chemistry was instant, but the show opted for a slow-burn romance that arguably still doesn't have any satisfying payoff. The Tony and Ziva NCIS spin-off should remedy this by actually focusing on their dynamic as a couple. It's about time that they get their full-blown romance play out on the screen. 5. Ziva's full display of her Mossad training. As a Mossad agent, Ziva is a dangerous foe. All past and present NCIS special agents have their respective skills that make them valuable to the agency. Ziva, however, is particularly special because of her Mossad training. This means that aside from being a great investigator, she is also physically and mentally capable of tackling almost any foe. Her earliest years in NCIS highlighted this, and her offshoot with Tony should bring it back. It will be interesting to see how much more brutal and vicious she can be when dealing with a threat not just against her but also her family. 4. Abby returns in NCIS, Tony and Ziva spin-off. Tony and Ziva can get help from the now England-based Abby.
Ducky's NCIS Season 21 tribute referenced Abby Shudo, the team's original forensic scientist who quit after a near-death experience. Years after she exited the series, she is supposedly still in England, where she continues to run the charity she started in honor of MI6 agent Clayton Reeves. Considering her proximity to Tony and Ziva in their NCIS spin-off, it isn't difficult to stage a reunion involving the trio. The couple seeking Abby's expertise to get out of their predicament is a great way to do this. Based on the way Polly Perrette left, it's highly unlikely that she will return to the main NCIS show, even though Harmon no longer stars in it. However, she may agree to be in Weatherly and De Pablo's project, especially if it's just going to be a cameo. 3. Tally's birth and story fully explained. Tony and Ziva's only daughter will be prominently featured in their NCIS spin-off. Seeing Tony and Ziva reunite after her fake death is great, but the NCIS spin-off needs to go further back in time for their flashbacks, particularly when she first found out that she was pregnant with Tali. The couple's daughter's existence didn't become clear until a couple of years after her mom left. It came as a shock not just to Taunt, but to the rest of NCIS viewers as well, considering that the series didn't explicitly show the pair being intimate. Tony and Ziva's new project can finally fix that by showing Tally's origins. 2. Tony and Ziva teaming up with McGee again. McGee has come a long way from being NCIS probie. Both Tony and Ziva had reunited with Timothy McGee separately during their respective returns to NCIS. However, the trio hasn't shared the screen since Ziva left in Season 11. As arguably Gibbs's best team members, it's important that they all come together, and there's no better way to do that than to have McGee provide his old friends with some help. Sean Murray's chemistry with Donoso and De Pablo was palpable, and they all remain friends up to this day, making it easy to stage their reunion.
1. Gibbs's NCIS reunion with Tony. It's time Tony reunites with his NCIS father figure. 2 years after he departs from Washington, D.C., Gibbs remains retired in Naktok Bay, Alaska.
While the door remains open for this return to NCIS, no word yet on when he will show back up to his old office. That being said, it would be such a big letdown if the upcoming NCIS spin-off doesn't reunite Gibbs with DiNozzo, who was once being groomed to eventually take over the team. Ziva has already gotten together with her former boss when she returned in NCIS, but Gibbs has yet to come face to face with his quasi-son.